right now, there are millions of people driving the car of their relationships, their careers, basically their entire lives, with one foot slamming the gas pedal.
And the other foot violently stomping on the brake.
Exactly. It's exhausting. It creates this massive amount of smoke, and, well, you don't actually get anywhere.
Right, and the worst part is that it's a biological glitch. It's happening completely under the radar.
Yeah, which is exactly why we are here. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are looking under the hood of human self-sabotage to figure out why exactly our brains do this to us.
We think we're making rational choices,
Yeah.
but we are actually just reacting to these old, hardwired threat detection systems.
Right, so we're going to examine this hidden emotional architecture that actively stalls your success, your happiness, your relationships, and we aren't just looking at the problem today.
No, we are digging into how to actually rewrite the operating system.
We've got a fascinating stack of materials for this deep dive. It represents an entire evolution of thought. We're starting with early 20th century success philosophy from Napoleon Hill.
Specifically, his book, Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, alongside some pretty aggressive modern debates about his work from Reddit. Then we move into the clinical mechanics of 2025 CBT data for anxiety.
And finally, into some really heavy-hitting modern psychological research on disorganized attachment style.
It's quite the trajectory, so let's just dive right into the philosophical map. Long before we had fMRI machines and trauma therapists, people were trying to put a name to this invisible friction.
Right, and Napoleon Hill diagnosed this by categorizing what he called the 6 ghosts of fear.
Right, the ghosts.
Yeah.
That's poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death.
And calling them ghosts is just a brilliant framing. A ghost by definition has no physical substance.
It can't actually touch you.
Exactly, it only has power if you believe in it. And yet the terror it induces in the human body is entirely real. Hill was observing how these totally imaginary scenarios generate physical paralysis.
Yeah, and the two that really stood out in the sources as the ultimate saboteurs were the fear of poverty and the fear of criticism.
Let's look at poverty first.
Right, because Hill observed this during the Great Depression. He argued it wasn't just about a lack of money. He claimed the fear of poverty literally destroys your faculty of reason and your imagination.
Which, if we look at that through a modern neurobiological lens, is spot on. Hill was essentially describing an amygdala hijack way before the term even existed.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, when you are terrified of financial ruin, your brain perceives a literal life or death survival threat.
Like a predator is in the room.
Exactly. So it pulls blood flow and electrical activity away from the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for complex problem solving and creativity, and it dumps it all into the limbic system.
Which just wants to fight, flee, or freeze.
Right, so your reason and imagination are quite literally shut down by the fear itself.
That makes so much sense. I mean, it's why you can't brainstorm a brilliant new business strategy when you're terrified about making rent next week.
You're biologically incapable of it in that moment.
Wow. And then there's the fear of criticism, which Hill says stunts people into permanent mediocrity. It's the fear of what they will say.
Ah, the great invisible they.
Right. And no one can ever actually identify who they are.
It's a phantom jury. We accept a life far below our potential because we are terrified of being judged by this amorphous collective that honestly isn't actually paying attention to us in the first place.
So true. And to fight these phantoms, Hill proposed something he called autosuggestion.
Right, the idea that your subconscious is incredibly receptive.
Yeah, it doesn't sleep, it just categorizes every sensory input 24/7. So his solution was to fix an exact goal in your mind and review it daily. You're forcing specific directions into the subconscious.
It's an interesting approach.
I was thinking about it, and the best modern analogy I can come up with is treating your brain like a large language model, like an AI.
Oh, I like that. How do you mean?
Well, if you train an AI exclusively on a data set of worst-case scenarios, poverty, and failure, any prompt you give it is going to result in a hallucination of disaster.
Because it can only output what it's been trained on.
Exactly. Autosuggestion seems like an early attempt at telling people to intentionally curate their own training data. If you feed it specific, positive goals, the model starts predicting pathways to success instead of pathways to ruin.
That is an excellent way to conceptualize neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
Because the brain literally strengthens the neural pathways that are activated most frequently.
Yeah, but Hill also touched on a mechanism for this that he called transmutation, which is easily one of his most debated concepts in the sources.
Oh, absolutely.
He argued that successful individuals learn to channel intense biological urges like. He specifically points to the desire for sex away from physical expression and into creative imagination or professional drive.
Right, the transmutation of energy.
I really need to push back on the mechanics of that, though, because it sounds a bit like early 1900s pseudoscience. I mean, how
Yeah.
does wanting physical intimacy magically translate into writing a better business proposal?
Well, it's not magic. It's actually about the dopaminergic reward system.
Okay, unpack that for me.
What Hill was instinctively describing is the redirection of dopamine. Biological urges provide this massive spike of motivation directed at an immediate short-term physiological reward.
Right.
Transmutation is just the practice of capturing that intense neurochemical motivation, that surge of focus, and consciously denying the immediate release.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you force the brain's executive functioning to attach that dopamine payout to a long-term complex goal instead. You are essentially hijacking your own biological drive and pointing it at a spreadsheet or a canvas.
Okay, when you explain the dopamine mechanism, that makes a lot more sense. But we do have to acknowledge that Hill's work is incredibly polarizing today.
Highly polarizing, yes.
We looked at a very heated discussion from a modern mindfulness subreddit, and the community is completely split on him.
What were they saying?
Well, one camp views his entire program your mind strategy as a commercial grift. They point out the historical irony that Hill was essentially impoverished until he managed to sell a book telling other people how to get rich.
Right, which is a completely valid historical critique. The success guru industry often packages these basic psychological principles into highly commercialized sales pitches.
Exactly. But then you have the other camp in that exact same thread arguing that regardless of the messenger, the underlying framework is still highly functional.
And how do they justify that?
One user provided an analogy that stripped away all the 1930s sales vernacular. They said to simply view the subconscious mind as soil.
Oh, the soil analogy is great.
Right. Soil doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't differentiate between a weed and a tomato plant. Whatever seed you drop into it, it will grow.
So if you don't intentionally plant fruit,
Which requires effort and autosuggestion.
Right.
Then the weeds, which represent the ghosts of fear, will just naturally take over by default.
the soil analogy is clinically sound, but it also highlights the primary limitation of these philosophical frameworks.
What do you mean?
Well, visualizing your mind as soil and intentionally planting seeds is highly effective when your nervous system is at baseline, but it completely falls apart during an active crisis.
Oh, right. When the house is on fire, you don't go out to the garden to plant a tomato.
Precisely. You cannot logic your way out of a panic attack with a philosophical metaphor.
Mm.
When the ghost feels like a physical threat standing right in front of you, autosuggestion is just too passive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That is where we have to leave early 20th century philosophy behind and transition into hard clinical tactics.
Which brings us perfectly to the 2025 clinical data we reviewed from Dr. Albert Bonfil.
Yes, moving from philosophy to mechanics.
Right. If Napoleon Hill gave us the philosophy of mental sabotage, Dr. Bonfil's work on CBT cognitive behavioral therapy provides the actual operating system to dismantle it in real time.
And Dr. Bonfil starts by diagnosing our current environment. He notes the modern pressure to do more with less, combined with the 24-hour news cycle.
We are essentially just swimming in cortisol right now.
We are so overstimulated and chronically stressed. So he breaks down a foundational CBT intervention, which is separating productive worry from unproductive worry.
Okay, break that down for us.
Productive worry motivates preparation. Unproductive worry induces paralysis. And the data here is striking. CBT is clinically shown to be 70 to 80% effective for generalized anxiety.
Wow.
Yeah, compared to traditional talk therapy, which sits around just 30% for this specific condition.
Wait, I need to challenge the premise of unproductive worry for a second.
Go ahead.
It's really easy for us to label a worry unproductive in a sterile, 2025 clinical setting. But from an evolutionary standpoint, didn't that exact kind of catastrophic panic keep our ancestors alive?
Oh, you're entirely correct. It is a survival trait.
Assuming the worst case scenario seems like a great way to not get eaten.
Exactly. The brain evolved to prioritize negative information. Missing a positive opportunity means you don't get lunch, but missing a negative threat means you are lunch.
Right.
The problem is contextual mismatch. Your ancient brain is applying life or death biological alarms to a missed email from your boss.
Or weird look from a coworker.
Right. That is why CBT is so effective. It forces the modern, logical prefrontal cortex to audit the ancient panicking amygdala.
It's an audit. I love that. I actually like to think of it using a legal analogy.
Let's hear it.
When you have anxiety, it's like your brain has hired a terrible, highly aggressive courtroom lawyer who is just constantly screaming worst-case scenarios at the jury.
That is a very accurate description of an anxiety spiral.
So CBT teaches you to put your own fears on the witness stand and cross-examine them with cold, hard evidence. You don't just tell the lawyer to shut up. You systematically prove that their case has no merit.
And Dr. Bonfil outlines 5 specific questions to conduct that cross-examination. The first is to predict and assess the likelihood. What do you actually think will happen?
Are you engaging in fortune-telling?
Exactly.
Right? Like, if I stumble during this quarterly presentation, everyone is gonna laugh and I'll be fired by noon. Put it on the stand. Are you a stand-up comedian? No, you're a data analyst.
The likelihood of a boardroom erupting into theatrical laughter is statistically 0.
Right, so what's question 2?
The second question forces you to define the best, worst, and most likely scenarios. Our minds naturally catastrophize, drifting immediately to that extreme worst case.
So this forces you to map the middle ground.
Exactly. What is the mathematically most likely outcome? Some people will be mildly interested, some will be checking their phones under the table, and then the meeting will end.
And question 3 is incredibly powerful. Examine past evidence.
Yes. Looking at the actual data.
How many times has your prophesied worst case actually materialized? Like, if you have driving anxiety, you have to force your brain to look at the telemetry.
Right.
You've driven that specific freeway route 200 times in the past year. How many fiery crashes have you been in? 0. You have to prove to the nervous system that its math is fundamentally broken.
And even if you do encounter a failure, question 4 asks you to define your coping strategy. This is vital because people usually freeze frame their mental movie right at the moment of disaster.
Yes. The movie stops the second you get the rejection letter or fail the exam, and the screen just goes black. The world explodes.
CBT forces you to hit play and watch the day after. What happens next?
You'll be upset. You might vent to a friend, you might eat a pint of ice cream and watch a terrible movie.
But then the sun comes up the next day, and you realize you still have agency. You can rewrite your resume, you can study differently, you are not a helpless entity.
And the final question, analyze the costs and benefits of the worry itself.
Right, asking what the worry is actually doing for you.
Is this specific rumination helping you study harder, or is it making you so nauseous that you can't even open the book, thereby guaranteeing the exact failure you are afraid of?
You mathematically dismantle the worry until the brain has to concede that the fear is useless. It is the literal mechanical process of clearing the weeds that Hill was talking about.
You are pruning the neural pathways of anxiety through sheer, rigorous logic. It's an incredible toolkit for conscious, logical anxieties. Taking tests, giving speeches, driving a car. But I have a major point of confusion when we try to apply this universally.
Okay, what is it?
What if the fear isn't logical? What if you can't put it on the witness stand because it doesn't even have language?
Ah, yes. That is the threshold where CBT reaches its limit.
Right. What if the fear is woven into your most basic survival instincts, specifically tied to how you connect with the people you love? You can't just cross-examine a feeling of profound existential abandonment.
You really can't.
And that pulls us away from conscious anxiety and into the deepest, most subconscious ghost of all.
This perfectly connects Napoleon Hill's concept of the fear of the loss of love to the 2025 clinical research we have on disorganized attachment style.
It's a huge shift in the conversation.
Because we are no longer talking about unproductive worries or bad cognitive habits. We are talking about severe trauma responses that are hardwired into the central nervous system during early childhood development.
Let's break down the mechanics of this for the listener. What exactly happens in a disorganized attachment style? Because earlier I mentioned that analogy of slamming the gas and the brake pedal at the exact same time.
Right.
How does a human being get wired to desperately crave intimacy, but treat that exact same intimacy as a lethal threat?
It is a biological paradox, and it is created when a child's caregiver is the source of both comfort and terror.
That sounds incredibly confusing for a kid.
It is. Our nervous systems have this subconscious threat detection mechanism called neuroception. In a healthy dynamic, a child is distressed, they run to the parent soothes them, and the nervous system learns that connection equals safety.
But what if the home is chaotic? What if there is untreated mental illness or addiction or abuse?
Then the neuroception breaks. The biological drive says, go to the caregiver for survival, but the threat detection system says, stay away from the caregiver for survival.
Wow.
The amygdala is screaming run, while the attachment system is screaming approach. The child has no clear path to safety, so the nervous system essentially shorts out, it freezes.
So they learn that they cannot trust the people who are supposed to love them.
And tragically, they learn they cannot trust their own internal emotional compass.
Fast forward 20 or 30 years. That child is now an adult trying to navigate a relationship or a marriage. How does this short circuit actually manifest in daily life?
It manifests as severe relational whiplash. Because the nervous system was wired to associate love with danger, normal relationship friction triggers a life-or-death physiological response.
Right, so a partner asking for some alone time or being slow to return a text message.
It isn't processed by the prefrontal cortex as a minor scheduling issue. It is processed by the amygdala as an imminent threat of abandonment and physical danger.
So they react to a delayed text message with the same biological intensity as if a tiger just walked into the room.
Exactly. They might violently push the partner away to protect themselves, or cling to them with overwhelming panic. It's exhausting for both people.
So how does someone even begin to fix a glitch that deep? I mean, if you can't CBT your way out of it and you can't use an affirmation to rewrite a nervous system in shock, what is the actual clinical pathway forward?
It requires a deeply trauma-informed approach, typically utilizing somatic experiencing or specialized trauma therapy.
Because it's stored in the body.
Right. The goal isn't to change the thoughts, it's to change the body's physiological reaction to the thoughts. You have to slowly, incrementally teach the vagus nerve and the nervous system that the present moment is not the past.
Because people with disorganized attachment fundamentally believe, beneath conscious thought, that safety is a trap.
Exactly. Healing starts with the radical bodily realization that they actually have the right to feel safe.
Which must be terrifying at first.
It is. It's about building highly predictable, steady routines. It's essentially exposure therapy to safety. The therapist helps them experience moments of connection without the accompanying disaster, slowly uncoupling the concepts of love and fear in the brain.
And the research highlights just how high the stakes are here. This has a massive multi-generational impact.
Oh, absolutely.
Generational trauma isn't just a buzzword, you know? It is a measurable transfer of nervous system dysregulation from parent to child. If you don't intentionally interrupt this pattern, you will replicate the chaos of your own childhood and pass that exact same ghost down to your kids.
But the clinical data from 2025 is incredibly hopeful here. By engaging in these therapies, by literally rewiring their physiological responses to stress and connection, modern individuals are actively breaking lines of trauma that go back generations.
They're stopping the ghost in its tracks.
They really are.
This has been a massive journey today. We started by mapping out the historical philosophy of self-sabotage, recognizing how the fear of poverty or criticism can literally shut down the reasoning centers of our brain. Right.
We looked at how treating the mind like a trainable model can redirect our focus. Then we moved into the hard mechanics of CBT, learning how to mathematically cross-examine our daily anxieties and force our prefrontal cortex back into the driver's seat.
And finally, we explored the biological reality of attachment trauma, recognizing that our deepest relationship struggles often require profound physiological rewiring rather than just a quick shift in mindset.
The ultimate takeaway for you, listening right now, is that the architecture of your mind is completely plastic.
It is not fixed.
Whether you are using CBT to dismantle the fear of an upcoming presentation, or you are doing the heavy, vital work of trauma therapy to save your marriage, you are not a finished product.
No, you're not.
You have the tools to audit your internal training data, clear out the ghosts, and completely rewrite the software you use to navigate the world. And, if we synthesize everything we've discussed today, the ability to transmute our drives, to mathematically dismantle our worries, and to medically rewrite our nervous systems to eliminate the fear of failure and the terror of lost love, it leads to a rather profound tangential question.
Oh, really? What's that?
Well, if we eventually perfect these tools, if we can systematically engineer a generation of human minds completely free from internal friction, entirely devoid of the ghosts of fear, do we also accidentally engineer away the exact desperation and urgency that drove people to achieve greatness in the first place?
Oh, wow. That is a wild thought. Is the ghost actually the engine?
Right.
That is a brilliant question to leave you. If the foundation of your life has been built on hidden fault lines of fear, you now have the tools to pour new concrete. But You have to decide what kind of building you actually want to construct.
Exactly.
Thanks for taking the deep dive with us today. We'll see you next time.